a CDO. It's quite varied. So we have 3 primary roles that we kind of do each shift block. One being checks, where we're just checking on the detainees that people have brought in every half an hour. Sometimes we have to wake them up if they're under the influence of whether it's drugs or alcohol, making sure they're fed, watered, showered. The other one is processing, where we do biometrics and DNA, their footwear imprints, and we just take a general description of individuals who come in. The last one is A role, which is our admin role. This is where we check their records when they come in, making sure if they're from a different country that we have to make sure that they have no flags up on the system that we need to be made aware of. And also cancelling recalls, cancelling warrants, and all general stuff like that. So level 1 is basically they're not under the influence of drugs or alcohol. They're ready to be interviewed and dealt with basically straight away as soon as the investigation's done. Level 2 is whether they've taken drugs or alcohol, they need to be woken up every half hour. And you need to have some sort of conversation out with them. Level 3 is where they'd sit on the screen in the back office and just observe that they're not doing anything. If we're a bit unsure, someone's going to do something or not do something, so they watch them, and then that way we can either up them or lower them. And the level 4 is if they've openly tried or they're known to us for actively trying to do something to harm themselves in custody.
Go level 4 for now, and then I'll speak to response.
Every cell has a camera in custody. They just have a bed and a toilet in there. The toilet is pixelated, so no one can see you for your own privacy. You'd have to ask a detention officer for any blankets that you want, food, drink. There's a cell called buzzer that's used for medical emergencies, and we can put your relatives through to the cell for you to have a conversation with them. With the dry cells, these are just cell beds and a camera. If you would like to use a toilet, you have to be watched. So you have to press the call button that's on near the door, and a custody detention officer will come down to your door, and they'll have to supervise you to go to the toilet. And if you're in these cells, normally you can't wash your hands or have a shower while you're in custody, just until swabs are done. So these can be intimate swabs or non-intimate swabs, depending on the type of offence you're in on. This could be GBH, any type of assaults, rapes, sexual assaults, anything that could possibly be used with evidence for the case. So if they're a level 1, we like to check anyway where they are in the cell, and then if we need to just check if they're sleeping or we want to speak to them, we just drop the hatch, have a quick conversation with them, or if they're sleeping, we just need to see their breathing and the rise and fall of their chest just to make sure that they are okay. If we are concerned, even though they're on a level 1, we can't see any breathing or movement, we would enter the cell and just pull the blanket off the head, make sure we can get a conversation. So it's just being aware of what different people could be up to as people go through a range of emotions in custody. They could have just been charged, even though they might be a level 1, they might go back to their cell and try to harm themselves down the line. The only time we really have to enter the cell is if someone is under the influence. What we do is just go in there, give them a quick shake, just try and get something out of them. We know when people are under the influence, we're not going to get a full-blown conversation out of them. But as long as we get the basics and they're able to confirm to us their full name, the date of birth, and if they know where they are, that are key questions. That's for us to just sort of understand how intoxicated they are. And if they're unable to tell us that then we know that they're very intoxicated. And as they sober up, they'll be able to understand more of the questions you're asking them and able to have more of a conversation with them. And that's where you're able to understand then where they are and if they're able to be lowered to a level 1. Obviously everyone who comes into custody with the sergeant would have a risk assessment. In this, they'd have an opportunity to explain if they're alcohol dependent or heroin dependent, so we can keep an eye out for withdrawals. If somebody is going to be in withdrawals, which is quite common for people in custody, we need to keep out for like them shaking, sweating. Normally they'll tell you if they're withdrawing because they get generally unwell, vomiting. We're able to then make a referral to the nurse to explain that they're going to need an assessment with them. To be honest, I don't like to think too much about their cases. Like, I understand people are in here under allegations, but unfortunately, yes, some people are guilty of what they've been accused of, and we do have some people who are in here who might have not really done anything wrong. There's more severe cases and there's less severe cases of people in custody. I've got to do my job correctly and make sure that they're well, because I wouldn't want anything to happen to them while they're in custody. We want to make sure everyone's treated with respect. We don't want anyone thinking that we're antagonising them for whatever reason they're in. A one-to-one will happen when the custody sergeant is booking in an individual at the desk. They get asked questions in the risk assessment if they're able to look after themselves and keep themselves safe and well in the cell. That's when they have the opportunity to say if they're going to self-harm, if they're at risk of self-harming, or they're going to attempt to hurt themselves. If they are going to attempt to hurt themselves, like some people will say they're going to hit their head on the wall, then they have to look at putting them on a level 4, which is a one-to-one. That's to make sure they're safe and well, and then they're not going to try anything to harm themselves. We also have people who say they're not going to harm themselves, and then sometimes we can go around on our checks and we've caught people tying shoelaces around their necks. We've had to go in and cut the shoelaces off, and that's when a level 4 can also begin, because not everyone's as open about their mental health when they come in here, and it can deteriorate fast being on their own in the cell. People who are under the influence, we're unable to give them food. They can have as many liquids as they want, drinks, but food becomes a bit of a choking hazard. When they want to go to sleep, we don't want them falling asleep with food in their mouths. We don't know how people respond to alcohol. Sometimes this is our first time ever meeting the individual. We've never seen them before. We can't justify giving someone food to then go to sleep with in the cell. They can have food when they sober up.
It's for cell leaders. I go grab him now, right?
Everyone who comes into custody has to have their biometrics done. If they're in for a certain offence, whether that be theft, burglary, anything like that, sometimes we can have an inspector's authority for a drug test. This will be read out to them when they're getting booked in. And they'll basically, when they come into that room, we'll ask them if they've had any medication in the last 24 hours. They need to declare to us. That could also affect the test that they're having done at that moment in time. So normally we'll get them to do the mouth swab. Then we put it into our machine, which will tell us whether they've had any Class A substances in their system. We'll tend to do their DNA. The DNA then gets stored on the police system. We do their fingerprints in police custody, because sometimes we've had people who have said their name is completely different to their actual name, and they want it on a recall or they want it on a warrant. A couple of times that has happened. We do their description on there. If they ever go missing or they're found in any circumstances, then we have a general idea of what we're looking for and who maybe they are. And their footwear is used joint with South Wales Police, a system for recent burglaries in the area, and what type of footwear people are wearing in custody. I've been spat in the face a couple of times by people. They have been charged with it. I've been assaulted by kicks, all different stuff, which is sad to think of really, because we're just here to look after people. It can be hard, some shifts, day in, day out, of maybe some people who are not so happy to be in custody. We take quite a lot of the brunt of it after their arrest, and people just see us as a uniform rather than a people, so it's quite difficult.